The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Welcome back to another episode of the Brandon Peters Show. Today we'll be celebrating 25 years of the Star Wars special editions. Joining me and shooting first from We Live Entertainment, Why So Blue Variety, and the host of Out Now with Aaron and Abe, Aaron Neuwirth.
Thank you. Thank you for that intro. And yes, the best versions, some say. Does people say that? Does people walk into like, yeah, the best ones?
The best ones. The very special to me editions, maybe they say. We're right.
Hashtag best Jabba.
Best Jabba,
yeah.
My Hut, not Pizza Hut, Book It Hut.
My Hut.
We're like when this is coming out, we're in the midst of this celebration as they started coming out in January of 1997. We're in the period where Empire Strikes Back special edition was released, and then in March would be the release of Return of the Jedi special edition, which would I always remember for some reason would be knocked out of the box office first place quickly by Private Parts, Howard Stern's movie. I believe knocked it out of the
He shook it all night long.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So this is interesting because looking back, people aren't too fond on these historically, but I remember being very excited for them when they came out.
I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of people were very excited about these.
Right. I mean, for me, this was my first time seeing him in a theater. Like that opportunity was not afforded. Like
I'm younger than you, so obviously, yes.
Right. Oh, you grew up in California where there may have been some screenings or something.
We're a plucky a plucky 9-year-old was walking around.
Right.
Or I guess 11-year-old was trying to find requisite screenings.
Yes. They were also, before you and I would have been able to take advantage of it, they were re-released in theaters through the 80s randomly to pick up some extra dollars. But this time, being a Star Wars fan at this time, this is part of the dark period, I like to say, after from like 84 to 98 was the dorkiest time to be a Star Wars fan, because there was stuff going on, but it wasn't like what you have now where you're like, there's no movies, but you get the Mandalorian, you get cartoons.
Is there more Star Wars? I wasn't aware. People don't talk about it all the
check
time.
it out, Disney Plus, cool stuff. If you're a fanboy, you are in service. But like the cool Star Wars things at the time was like books, the Timothy Zahn Heir to the Empire trilogy, and an ongoing series of continued adventures of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, you name it, and side stories that now become realities of like Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina, Tales from Jabba's Palace, that type of stuff. They went everywhere. Comics,
Games.
You had, to comics, games like Rebel Assault, TIE Fighter, Dark Forces, Super Star Wars, which I love those Super
Star
Nintendo
Wars,
ones.
which are very difficult.
Very difficult. Very awesome. There are good cheat codes on those, though.
But Shadows of the Empire, that was my thing, because I had a 64 and a Nintendo 64, and that was beyond being like a successful book to the point of which Lucas was even like, he gave it like the nod, like, yeah. All right. That's pretty like he doesn't tend to like comment too much, it seems, on the extended universe stuff, but it seems like Shadows of the Empire is like, yeah, all right. That was good.
That was like the first, like, that was like a major event with Shadows of the Empire, because it was the book. Shadows of the Empire had the comic book. Shadows of the Empire had the video game on 64, which I remember liking. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I liked it. It was very punishing because it was back at that time when you had lives, so you couldn't just like, if you lost, and you start all the way over again. but it was a popular game, and it gave you a Han Solo analog in the form of Dash Rendar.
Dash Rendar, yeah, and Prince Shizor.
Yep,
that was a guy. It was this whole story of stuff that happened between Empire and Jedi, and felt like a lot happened. But I mean, yeah, that was like, I felt like, oh, this is gonna be
toys.
It.
Toys was
big
toys
muscular toys, big muscular.
It was a mix.
Toys.
It was a mix because I had because they had a micro machine. I have one right here on my slave one.
Yep.
They have the micro machine toys that I collected all. I tried to collect all of those I can, where they're not like, you can't, for the audio listeners, like they weren't super huge. They weren't like tiny micro machines. They were the ones that are like a medium size, a happy medium. That's the one. Those are the ones that I like really flocked to.
I had the Death Star with that one. I had
the Death Star. I had a Hoth. Yeah, I had a Hoth set. It's like I had the Hoth where like it folds up into like a little briefcase, so you could like, I don't know, take her out, but whatever. You fold it out, and it's like a Hoth station, and you get an AT, an AT-AT, and everything.
There was like a shield generator, an indoor one.
Yeah,
too.
The shield, I had that one. There was all, and there were like the micro machines that were like the heads of characters, and you like open the head, and it's like, like because I was big on, I was a big Boba Fett guy, so I had the Boba Fett head, which is Bespin. So I had like the whole like Bespin set, and it was cool because it's like, from the top to bottom. So on the bottom it's like Luke hanging out at the bottom of the thing, and the rest of it's the rest of Bespin. It's like, oh, this is great. But I had a lot of toys for like that was my thing for Star Wars for sure.
No, the action figures with the film cells. I remember.
Yeah, there were those. But the thing I want to get to is, in this very room, I had a whole like Endor thing that I made myself, where I had like, this was back in the day when you still had like electronic race car sets, where like it would just be like a track, and you'd like hold the little clicker that's attached to it, and it just kind of goes around in circles.
Right.
I had one of those, and it was on like a big board, so I turned it into the Battle of Endor. So I put like the micro machine speeder bikes on top of the cars, so it'd be going around. I planted all like this like plants and woods and stuff from outside to put it on to make it look like a forest. I had like a chicken walker and all the different toys, and they're like hanging from the ceiling and stuff too. So I had like a full on like Endor battle going on in this room. It was fun for like nobody to ever see.
My friends who spent the night thought I was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what it was. You had to live in like expanded universe stuff, toys, all sorts of things. There's a role-playing game that I never played that started in the 80s, like shortly before the Timothy Zahn novels, which he mined for information, which later would evolve into stuff actually showing up in movies, which is kind of cool. Like that those guys had to come up with ideas and things to go with it, which were licensed and okayed by Lucas.
I'm sorry.
Well, he did have restrictions on these things as much as he was letting out. Like, I know in the Heir to the Empire series, he wanted the Joruus C'baoth character, which is like the clone Jedi evil that's evil working with Grand Admiral Thrawn, was supposed to be a clone of Obi-Wan Kenobi, but he said could not do that. So, that was one thing he ixnayed. There was a couple other. There was a certain time period that wasn't allowed to be referenced as well that he had put on these books and comics and stuff like that.
I'm sure there were more card games, but I know there was a card game, like a card series. I think that started after the special editions came out, though. I think that's when they took off then, because I remember there were commercials, but it's like, I can't remember far back enough to be like, oh yeah, there were definitely commercials before the special edition. I feel like it came after those, when Star Wars started getting more popular again, before Phantom Menace came out, but like after, kind of reinvigorated the spirit of Star Wars.
Right. Yeah. Because, that was I think the card game came out then. Can't remember.
And that, because like I had the THX remastered VHS set,
which I wanted to bring up because there's a disclaimer.
That was huge.
There's a disclaimer on that saying that this is the last time these will ever be available again, and people are like, okay, and it's held true to a degree from a certain point of view. That no one knew what they meant then, but that was because once these special editions came out, well, they would not be seen. He did cheaply to try to sell the single standalone editions of the movies, put a limited edition out where the bonus disc was a straight up
Laser
4x3
edition.
4x3 letterbox laser disc rip of the Star Wars THX edition. But as far as concerned, that was the last time, and then the special editions and never looked back, which prior to the special editions they had been tinkered with before. All three movies,
of course, always
throughout. It's a nonstop thing, and there's good stuff and there's bad stuff, and there's good stuff in these. There's stuff that worked back in the day that doesn't now. But yeah, Star Wars has always been tinkered with. But some things
like every movie,
yeah.
And anyone that thinks that, like, from the theater to the to Blu-ray to 4K, that they're untouched is insane. Like, visual effects are still being worked on for like the big movie, like even the Marvel movies. They're never like done. Like, they're happy to keep doing stuff with them.
I mean, if you look at the fine details of these, like, there are just slight audio cues that change from like 1977 to like a 1982 re-release. Like, it's crazy.
That's not to say that it's comparable necessarily with, like, yes, an added sequence of a CG Jabba the Hutt in a 1977 Star Wars film.
Right.
I understand this, but yeah, these things are malleable.
A lot of cosmetic fixes. There's some alternate takes and alternate lines, but that's what happened. But yeah, this 1997. Now, memory's hazy. I can't remember the prequel's official announcement that he was going to make those. It comes somewhere after Jurassic Park, but is it like big time?
It's like 90. It's like 94.
94.
I believe it's like, it's probably. If anything, it's probably around the time he puts the THX editions out.
I know Malton says something to him about it on the THX edition VHSs, because those came with a little 3-part George Lucas interview that airs before each movie. But I think 1997 was when they were aiming to release the first prequel, but since that didn't pan out, we got these. Yeah. I think this was like compromise, but these also oddly foreshadow getting you ready for what you're going to kind of look at it in the prequels. In a way, it's kind of a smart-ish move, but
it's the thing that leans on Al Lucas is very good as a businessman. Like, he knows how to juice certain kinds of excitement and get you ready and prepare you for things to essentially sell you, but also just show you a new thing, but in his way.
The anniversary re-releases weren't a stranger either. I mean, like The Godfather had a big re-release when it hit an anniversary. Disney movies always. The Exorcist
that vault always opening up.
The Exorcist jumped on the Star Wars craze because we got the version you've never seen and shouldn't probably watch. Just do the original. It's good.
And famously, Blade Runner, the 1992 director's cut.
Yeah, director's cut and international edition. Yeah, that Ridley Scott, he's played with a couple movies. He's done a few. But this one, so 1997, there's that trailer, the TV.
Which is a killer trailer. What do you know offhand what the movie was that it first premiered with? I didn't look this up. I should have. But I remember seeing that in the theaters and, like, as a I'm a little younger than you, but like, I imagine we have the same excitement as far as being like in a movie theater, seeing like a tiny TV with an X-Wing on it, and then the TV fucking explodes and the X-Wing's going at you, and it's like, what? Like, I get to do this? Like, this is amazing.
And it had the tagline, "and a few new surprises."
Yeah.
That's what they kept doing. And yeah, like, I was like, what are they doing? Because before this, our only gateway into deleted material was the Star Wars storybook and from Empire to Jedi, which from Star Wars to Jedi, I'm sorry. From Star Wars to Jedi was with the original VHS collection set. It came with it. It was a little documentary about making the films. And in that you could see shooting of a Biggs Darklighter scene on Tatooine. And then in the Star Wars storybook, it included the Biggs Darklighter on Tatooine stuff. which was like, what the hell is this? Like, I was like, this isn't in the movie. Where this picture from? Like, what is this? When I was a kid, because I got a hand-me-down from my uncle of the Star Wars storybook. And I was always like, what in the world is this? Just like when Phantom Menace came out, there was a storybook or something, and it had like just like a composite of characters in like the back covers and stuff. And there was one of Bail Organa, not Jimmy Schmitz, some dude.
Bail Organa.
Bail Organa, but not used. So
I'm just glad all the big heads were getting just lots of material to work with for their small but effective fandom. All their shirts.
Right. Yeah, the big Darklighter fandom, and there's the Jabba scene, which that was included in From Star Wars to Jedi. They showed that with the guy with the big feathery coat. He would not get to come back for these. He would be replaced. So let's so first, of course, we're excited. You hadn't seen him in theater before, neither did I. So going in before seeing these and knowing that changes were happening, what were your thoughts about the changes prior to seeing the films? Like that they were going to tweak stuff.
So what was my thought on just like knowing that there would be new stuff?
Knowing that before you saw the new stuff, but knowing, like, seeing the trailer and knowing that they were going to change some things.
Oh, obviously just intrigue and curiosity and excitement. Like, I'm going to see Star Wars on a big screen. Awesome. There's new things involved. I know these pretty well, just because from VHS viewing constantly, like,
right,
what could be different? And I'm young enough where it's like I'm not reading the books or the making of stuff to be like all that like knowing of various things that exist, but like only some people know about it just because they've read that far. Like I don't know what to expect. So it's more of like, okay, yeah, I am fully on board for whatever this is going to be. And why would it be bad? It's Star Wars. It's my favorite thing.
Right, exactly. I was like, when these came out, I was 15. I was all into, like, I was into the film stuff, but I was like, CG's the wave of the future. I'm like, oh, look what they could do to Star Wars. Oh, look, they're adding stuff here or there. To me, I looked at it like, oh, they could have possibly improved Star Wars, which I never thought was possible. That was my mentality as a 15-year-old. Like I was down to see them try. I was excited.
It's fun, like you mentioned that, like the CG thing. It's the kind of thing where, like when the 97, 98 is when it really, like, not specifically Star Wars, but like in general, as far as films coming out, that's when I generally consider myself like the person I became as far as being film obsessed, like that time period, just because I started, not just recognizing like I like this, but also like why I like this on a deeper level. But like, going back to something like Jurassic Park, that's like a key, like I'm a certain age and I can recognize that it's like good, but there's like a different like evolution going on here. And so so I'm seeing like CG and practical effects, but CG for like, and used so effectively in my eyes for like in a way where I'm like, it just like, this just exists now. So like seeing, it happening in Star Wars, it's just like, cool. Like I want to know where we're going with this kind of thing.
Yeah, with me, like this is the age and around the time where I start being someone who's like, oh, I want to make movies, to actually start making them on my own, my VHS camcorder. So I'm in the middle of that period of myself with it. I of course don't have
this is where in the YouTube version of the show you cut in a footage of young Brandon like running up a slide or something on an old like 8-bit
right, yes,
16 millimeter camera.
Yeah, it's showing me the camera messing around. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And then somebody walks behind me over the tail, and that's what we add later. But yeah,
great clip, Brandon. Okay.
What a clip. What a show. So for how many times did you go see
I'm derailing the whole thing? I'm sorry.
So how many times did you go see these in the theater?
I honestly, like, I can't recall offhand. I will say, like, I probably saw all of them at least twice. I'll put that out there. That period of like the 90s to like the early 2000s, there was a lot of like, I'm just seeing movies and I'll be in the movies all day. I'll see a movie and I'll jump to another movie or whatnot. And like there's only so many things that you can see. So like PG Star Wars movies, while like, my mom or dad were like, doing something else or whatnot. I could just be in this area and just do this thing. So,
right.
like, I don't think I went overboard as far as like just constantly seeing it every weekend, but I do think I saw all 3 of them at least twice.
Yeah,
I think that's fair to say.
I saw Star Wars and Jedi twice. I saw Empire 4 times, and every time I saw Empire, I made it go, I'm gonna sit somewhere else in the theater. I sat
really maximize my experience.
I sat low in the front once and to the side, low to the front and the side, so it was like this. And there was one time I went and the projector was off center, and so I was just like, you know what? I could say something, but I'm gonna watch it like this. Like the opening crawl went like this, and I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna let this go. They didn't fix it. Somebody complained. But
you're just wampa stomping your way all over the place in this theater to see Empire.
I was loving it. I saw him twice. I always my Uncle Mark's like who like really introduced me to Star Wars, so I would see it with him each time and then off on my own or whatever. But I remember when we went opening night we went to Jedi, and for some reason the theater had a like to try to get all festive, and they had a Stump the Jedi type thing where they had these dorks in robes probably from the comic book stores that were sitting there, and you had to ask them try to stump them with Star Wars knowledge, and if they you got like a prize if you did it, and I stumped him because
here's a question real quick. Was robes a thing before the prequels? Like beyond just the fact that like, because only like Obi-Wan had a robe.
Only Obi-Wan had a robe, but
was robes like a thing that people were doing?
I think it was just considered like that's what a Jedi wears, because
I've heard the whole argument that it's like he's only wearing a robe because he's on Tatooine. And it's sunny. He needs to have some kind of layer.
Well, like the artwork for the Timothy Zahn novels with Jorah Sabath, he was always wearing an Obi-Wan like robe too. So maybe that leaked into somewhere. Maybe that's what
I figure. Like extended universe and comic stuff, like also did that, but at the same time, it's like Lucas did roll with the robe thing. Like it seems like that. So I don't know. But
it's also samurai like. So
I get, and they're monks.
Yeah.
I mean, like so it's like I don't see a problem with this. Like in the I don't.
It is interesting that the guy would go into hiding and just stick with the outfit, but
and keep his last name and look exactly like himself.
Mm-hmm.
I hope the Obi-Wan series has like testing out masks or like shaving the beard. Shaving the beard would be a big step. That'd be something to see. Just rocking regular Ewan McGregor face.
And he goes by Dave Kenobi. Okay.
I hope we get an origin story for this choice too, for Ben.
Oh gosh.
What's gonna happen. Like episode 1 is gonna be searching for a new name. Ben Kenobi.
Just hoping they bring Watto back.
He'll probably give it to him. I'll trade you a name. Look at
Obi-Wan. That's just too much to say. I want the Ben. How about the Ben?
I like that your version. Your version of Italian.
Yeah. You've been here before. Yeah. No. So let's dig into Star Wars.
Okay.
Special edition.
I was ready for 10 more minutes of Watto, but that's fine. We can dig into Star Wars.
We can dig into Star Wars, and I can tell you it's a Watto, right?
Have you seen the new Little Caesars Pizza? It's a Batman. What? It's crazy.
That's my Watto. It's on the pizzas. Star Wars sold as Star Wars Special Edition, not Star Wars: A New Hope Special Edition. Star Wars, the Special Edition. So the New Hope moniker isn't just like hardcore here yet. And every time they would do it, Star Wars would be the predominant thing here. This one, big deal. This one had the most done to it. Reported 10 million in updates to this movie, which they made back easily.
Oh, did they?
They had, which they had already made back before they even started. Yeah. But notably, we see the big one was the Jabba scene. That's which we've talked about, where they
like
had
most of Tatooine seems like the big.
A lot of Tatooine.
Mos Eisley, I guess, is like a lot of the big stuff, right?
Right.
Dewbacks and
yeah, we get Jabba the Hutt with Han Solo is the scene cut from the original because they couldn't pull off Jabba like George wanted exactly. They shot it, but no compromise there. You and I have talked about this scene that
and the information is just the same that you get from Greedo's scene. So it's like they're not really doing anything beyond just having the scene here. So
this is the big one they sell on, and Jabba looks like crap in this. They have improved it over time because they would go back to these for DVD release, for Blu-ray release, for 4K. Like they touch up this Jabba. Still never great, but this is just like, oof, CG was not ready for this.
It wasn't, but it's like Jabba's always not like it's a mix of like they're aliens, and so there's just something. I mean, the otherworldliness, like if it's not originally that way, it's not going to work that well because we have tangible examples from him and Yoda,
right,
and the various other like Muppet create the So it's like seeing a CG version of a thing that you've very well seen real. That's already not helping. Plus, Jabba's just such a weird like even now, like in the Boba Fett show, watching the other Hutts, they still don't look very good. Like they still just look like blob thing that you've created. There's personality there, I guess, and it's not like I love slacking in this department, but it's just like I think it's just how effective Jedi is establishing who Jabba is as a character,
right?
Combined with the fact that a giant slug creature is just not the most appealing thing. And in this movie, you're blending it with broad daylight with Harrison Ford being jerked around the screen. It's like, it's just not going to work that well.
Well, it's weird because it's like even though like it just doesn't feel like it has any weight on it compared to what we've seen. And like when I saw Jedi, I'm like, I really just didn't believe this thing would move. Like I really, he's just sitting there and a slug, and then you see him out like just slugging around. And
episode 1 looks pretty good, I will say. Like I think because of how they frame it, because he's like in the midst of everything going on,
right?
And it's used very sparingly. It's just like, he exists. I think it works the best in that regard, but like it's just a weird creature to try to like make CG work with when you have exactly this like stationary thing that you've seen built already.
Right. And then they take the opportunity to make sure that Boba Fett's in every movie of the trilogy and has him here with a fourth wall break of I'm here as he goes through.
Watch the Andor show bring Jabba in every single episode just to make Diego Luna happy.
That would be funny.
He has like a calendar, a hut of the month calendar.
I want him to deliver the renewal for season 2. Like, sorry about. Jabba, yeah. Yabba.
Let's make sure in the show notes for this week's episode to provide the Diego Luna loves Jabba the Hutt video clips.
Oh yeah, that's great stuff. Like he's got to show up. He's got to. The biggest controversy of this changes is of course, Biggs Darklighter showing up. But no,
that's what it is.
It's the Han Solo introduction with Greedo, where Greedo shoots first, way off, missing Han Solo.
He's a terrible bounty hunter.
But something's busted with his gun because his gun's pointed one way and it shoots like off to the wall. Is Han Solo's head movement in this? I can't remember.
No, they put that in later.
Like he just misses.
Here it's just the blasters. That's the first version of it.
And how did you feel about this the first time you saw it?
To be honest, like young me wasn't like, it just wasn't something I was concerned with. It's the kind of thing. It's similar to like when episode 1 came out, where like I don't have internet at this point. I don't like converse in a way that's anything less than Star Wars rules. So like it was only a discovery I made later on where it's like, oh, this is a thing that people like have a problem with.
Yeah, that same here. I was always like, when I saw, I was like, oh, well, that's different than what I saw before. I didn't think of like the deep connotations that people would have from this, which I agree, it's silly, but like I never knew more like
people would wear like, shirts. I could see blaster bolts. Like, okay, there's blaster bolts now. I didn't think about the idea of like, because also like as a child, I don't think I think of Han Solo as like, oh, he's so cool because of how dark and mysterious he is and has funny quips also. It's just more of like, Harrison Ford's fucking cool. Like, I don't like what else.
Right.
And like, certainly I can understand people go out overboard. I get the outrage that comes from like changing the shape of his character by having him not just cold-blooded murder a bounty hunter and instead getting into a duel of sorts that goes really well for him.
Mm-hmm.
But like, is like, well, has Lucas has like tried to justify this, right? I think, and it's just like fine, I guess. Yeah. But like, when I look at it now, it's like, yeah, I do prefer like he's a smuggler, he does what he needs to kind of thing, and that adds to the arc as far as where he starts the film versus where he ends the film. So it's like, would I not have this if I had the option? Sure. Did it like ruin my childhood? Nothing does. So there.
Right, yeah, no. And funny thing about that, like, there's a lot of people probably think takes away from him being a badass, but it's like, you realize Clint Eastwood probably shot at the same time as guys too, like him and what's his name?
Lee Van Cleef.
Lee Van Cleef, yes. They would shoot at the same time at each other because they're bad at, like, like if anything, this makes Greedo look a little bit tougher than what he was,
Yeah.
What about Greedo here? Like, we all think Han, but we just made Greedo a bit more of a terrible shot, but more of a
terrible shot. Yeah, but he got the jump on the guy. He should have just shot him right there, and
right,
be done. Hindsight's 2020. But like, I also think about like Han Solo throughout this movie. It's like, sure, he like maybe kills a guy in cold blood, but he's also like, whining constantly about not wanting to do things, not wanting to participate in the Death Star action,
right,
running away from a bunch of people. Like, I mean, like he's he's not always taking the hard choice if he doesn't have to.
Right. Even I get bored sometimes, Yeah. Yeah, and also, as you mentioned, like the Tatooine is full of it's busy now. Like, it's really busy, and
which is more effective. I think the way they fill it, like, sure, you have a giant one of those things walking around and whatnot, or more ships in the air doesn't bother me. Ships in the air makes sense to me. Like, like that stuff. I think that there's like, those are like little cosmetic changes that I more or less enjoy. Like, they don't bother me. Just like,
there's some little attention getter pieces that are a little too much, but like, I get like, if he would have had the resources to do so back then, he would have filled it up like that, because it's supposed to be an active place instead of just, all right, you 10 walk that way. Okay, we change shots. Now you guys walk, and make it less human. They make it more, alien.
This is before he does THX 1138, right? Before he does that revisit.
I think so.
Like, that's like 2001 or something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like
I think
that.
so.
Yeah. Because that's similar, where it's not like huge changes. It's more of just like filling out the rest of the world, because that movie's so cheaply shot on obviously. So
right.
But it's very, it's a very effective version, because for one thing, the movie's not trying to call attention to things. It's more trying to, it's him doing his very sterile thing, and it just, hey, we can have more backgrounds, we can have more extensions going on here.
Right. Yeah.
Lucas isn't dumb, is what I'm saying. Like, I think the things we're talking about here, as far as even the Jabba thing, or a Jawa spinning out or whatever in Mos Eisley, it's because this is it's a pulpy space movie. Like,
right.
it
was
have,
always
like,
silly. It was always silly to begin with. And there's great stuff here too, like little cosmetic fixes, like the sand crawler. There's a lot better coverage with the sand crawler. The nighttime stuff looks really cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty effective. It works.
The land speeder looks less like there's Vaseline smeared on the lens.
Exactly. Yeah. less like that. There's like Obi-Wan's hut. They put a digital hut there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even remember what the old one looks like. I'm just used to this digital one now. But yeah, a lot of stuff happens here on Tatooine where they throw a lot of the obvious changes. The Death Star, they get to that with Alderaan exploding and the Death Star exploding, get a ring that fires off, which, all right.
Yeah, whatever.
I always loved that original Death Star explosion, though. I miss that like light glow. Like, I always liked that one.
There. I agree with you, actually, and I would say I do like the Return of the Jedi one, because they like try to flip it to some degree.
Right.
Yeah.
They do. And then
also I think what because that is 97. So 96, Independence Day is like one of my movies at this point.
Oh
so
yeah,
like,
yeah.
And, and that
movie
movie
was the new
with,
Star Wars. It was the new Star Wars.
It was, and it ends with basically the Death Star exploding, and it has like a giant, a wave of craziness coming out.
Right. We knew how explosions went then. We were like,
yeah, exactly. So watching. It. So like I'm adjusted at this point to be like, yeah, Death Star, and there's a thing. Oh yeah, Death Star. It makes sense.
Of course they would add that. It's better now. Yeah, and then on the Death Star they add the little trinket of when Han's running away and he runs to a dead end, and that cracked me up at the theater a lot. That was all because he ran into a couple stormtroopers and it was like, oh crap, ran away, and the way they fixed it and had like just 100 stormtroopers there. That's funny. That makes it work even better. That's an improvement in my eyes. Like it's like
that's just that. That's Lucas. Like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. Like, whether or not you agree with him, he's not. These aren't like arbitrary choices he's making here.
Yes, like because I remember in the theater opening weekend seeing that when that happened, the whole crowd went like, "Whoa!" Like there was a big audible recognition of that from the crowd when they did that. And then of course another big thing is the space battle at the end adds a lot of CG X-wings and.
At the beginning of that battle, you get the big like everybody's here shot.
Oh, trailer shot, yeah, the big trailer shot for that. It's like, whoa! And then there was the where they replaced it all. No, it's a mixture of model work and CG. But some people had thought that they mixed them all. They actually re-edited a lot of the space battle and a lot of the action scenes. Like the film has almost a complete re-edit to a lot of the stuff when CG was involved and plays slightly differently than what came before, as noted by people who pay way more attention to this shit than I do.
Which I've read this is because I just can't discern it at this point anymore. But like
I watch other movies. I don't have time to sit and make. Wait, couple seconds shy there.
As much as like Star Wars is celebrated for just being Star Wars, and as much as people want to pull it apart as far as like which things, not age poorly, but like stand out as far as like, yeah, Lucas was younger. We just kind of give him a pass for certain things.
Yeah.
The final like 20 minutes of that movie, that's just the X-Wings taking on the Death Star, that's as tense as anything. Like it's so effectively shot, and like Lucas only learned from there. That's why the re-editing, it's not like it made it worse. It's just even tighter and more tense because it's what 50, almost 77. It's almost what year is it? Almost 45 years.
45
later.
years.
And you watch that sequence, they're gonna destroy the Death Star. I'm still fucking edge of my seat, like waiting to. It's like, Luke, how's Luke gonna get out of this one? Like these Vader's right behind him. Like,
and in a theater, it's a whole new world. Seeing this in the theater too. Yeah,
it was insane to watch it like that for the first time. Just being like, good Lord, like I'm so invested in these rebels stopping this thing right now, and I know it's going to work out. I know Han's gonna come in at the last minute. But the fucking goosebumps you get in a theater with the surround sound coming at you as Han just comes in at the last minute, yippee, and does all that. It's like
the point of view shots are so effective. The point of view shots of this are just like a whole nother level when you're in the theater and watching it. And to think 1976 and 1977 have some of the best like suspenseful climactic battles with two movies, with Rocky, the fight scene between him and Apollo Creed, and then followed up with Star Wars the next year. Just some good, intense, well done finales that, unlike the rest of the decade, end happily.
Yeah.
But yeah, this finale is just great again. New little twists and turns, and seeing the CG. Because that's what this was the future. It's going to be CG ships and stuff, and seeing what they could do with Star Wars. Like, oh wow, he's cosmetically fixing things. There was issues that in the past, like transparent cockpits that were gone. Now they were actually fixing these things. They tried a bit on the THX editions, but they were still a little bit see-through. But here, first time they were gone. The one fix they didn't make till like, I believe it was DVD or Blu-ray that wasn't here. When Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi fight, and Luke yells no, and Vader starts coming at the door, and it's close before he shoots it. he's got the white stick.
Yeah.
And it's still there in this. I remember that because I was like, oh, they're gonna fix. They didn't fix that.
Yeah, I think it's the DVD that does that one.
Yeah, and there's the one like where like Obi-Wan's like hitting with his lightsaber and it looks like it's going out. It's this little blue dot, and they would fix that later on like Blu-ray or DVD too. But
their fight still looks, it improves every single time.
Yeah,
the fight that they have, every single time they do something different with it. Well, different, they just modify it. The one thing I like that Luke is having a sense of humor, I think he just increases, is the sound of the head stormtrooper bonking his head on the door.
Oh yeah, every time there's a new
every
release,
every time it just feels like it's louder.
Yeah,
like, it's just like, let's put more emphasis on this. This is really funny.
It is like don't. And then there was I believe they changed it here. There was close the blast doors got added because when Han Solo is running away during the tunnel chase, and the door's closing and they run through it, they come back and they're like, open the blast doors. So he added earlier, right up there, he added Stormtrooper saying, close the blast doors. And then they're like, open the blast doors. So a little bit of comedy added there. That was a kind of funny line they added. But and then of course we big Starklighter thrown in, because when I saw this movie, I knew there was no way in hell they were going to change the opening to this. I was like, I want to see the big scenes. But when he showed up towards the end, I was like, woohoo, Biggs. Because like I grew up knowing like Luke had a friend, his best friend back home, and he dies during the final battle. And it's like, that just non-existent. That's like another piece of drama for Luke during this battle and gone. But then it gets to come back for a bit. So big Starklighter. Rebel hero.
The Biggs heads were happy. So
they were head. I was one of them. I was like, all right, my man Biggs. But yeah, the Star Wars Special Edition, that was good time. I was like, okay, what you got for us? Empire Strikes Back in February when this one comes out. And the big selling, one of the big selling points of this was the Wampa.
Yeah,
he's not ambiguous anymore. He is full. Like you get a
Wampa.
A lot more Wampa. Guy in costume, arm cut off. Rah! Like no longer a hand puppet. Still in there. The hand puppet's still in there, but pretty nice.
Which always looks like it's just like it's like, oh, I got him, I guess. Or looks too vicious until you see like, oh, I guess he got him pretty good.
Which there's like, they fixed later on, there was like a piece of someone's arm that showed up in frame because the puppet went extended past it.
Of course.
And they would later fix that. But the Wampa, I guess it's cool. Like just a place. I feel like Empire Strikes Back's the one they did the least tinkering to, or the least like offensive tinkering.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, because I mean, they're all favorite movies of mine, but I mean, it's
right,
perfect. It's like, what do you do differently to this?
Right.
Like the stuff that I can remember most is like in Bespin, there's just more like cloud cars flying around and backgrounds and things.
They add some CG cloud cars. And all these movies get new wipes and transitions. That's one thing he did to all of them. But like, yeah, this one is mainly Cloud City. It's neat they add windows and all sorts of like designs to the walls, because it was this like white, but Cloud City always scared me, and now it's like open and friendly, and I'm like, oh man, I liked it when it was like claustrophobic.
See, I like I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree as far as it's effective in that way, but I like this approach too, because of the the waiting for the other shoe to drop aspect, especially going into it like you already know what's going to happen at this point. So I like the efforts made to be like, let's make it more open and more agreeable seemingly, but you even though that there's something lurking underneath there. I like the idea of like, it's blue velvet with picket fences on top, and then there's something going on underneath. It's just like a nice little like we're hiding something in plain sight essentially, and trying to make it seem effective. But I get you. I get as far as like there's an ominous feel by having it feel.
I always like that, like
despite being in the clouds, you're sitting in this like claustrophobic space. That
creepy Kubrick white room type aesthetic like kills for me. So, but it's not like game changing, and I like what they've done. I think what they've done looks really good.
Because I find the concept of Bespin fascinating as far as like it's a gas planet that we basically harvest from, but we also live here. Like that's cool.
Right. We live on a space station on a gas planet. Like it's
like I wish the fucking sequel movies did anything that interesting to me. Like if there's one thing that they're lacking, because for the most part I like a lot of the stuff, but it's like, you know, the prequels felt like they were doing something new. Sequel movies just felt like riffs on planets we've seen before. It's like Star Wars is about and you know, the one time they go to some new planet, that's the one everyone hates, Cannabite. Like it's like the one that's actually different in some way. It's like we fucking hate this. I hate going to new worlds in Star Wars apparently.
Right. Like, Crate's cool, but it's a clever spin on Hoth.
It's Hoth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a clever spin on Hoth.
Everything else is forests, deserts, and snow, like so, and water. And I get that you could say there's only so many elements. At the same time, it's like they fucking found a gas planet in the second episode movie.
Right,
you can find new stuff to do. Put it on an asteroid. Fucking Guardians of the Galaxy had a head of a guy that they lived in. Like that's neat.
I mean, like Naboo isn't anything special, but it felt new. It felt like it made terrain feel different with that. And I mean, even Revenge of the Sith goes to like
it's got lava planets
in a montage.
Mario Brothers.
In the Order 66 montage shows you a bunch of possibilities.
I went to Felucia and I'm like, what's this Alice in Wonderland planet that I've never been to before? Like, I want to see more of this. Sorry, Kit Mundi. But
like it's he really knew how to do the terrains quite well, and that's where the sequels and like Solo and Rogue One used Iceland. They did that.
Rogue One looks good. I like Rogue, even like that one planet that's basically a desert planet, but still
Jeddah.
Jeddah, though, that's like has a giant plateau and it has like the giant fallen Jedi statues just in the back. Like it's just like there's cool stuff going on. Like that movie's there's a lot going on aesthetically that I like. Which, again,
beach. It has the beach planet. That's right.
Yeah, it has the beach. Yeah, it has the beach. Seraph. It has the beach planet, which is really that's unique in itself. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping the Andor show explores this to some degree.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they love them deserts.
Because Boba Fett's like Tatooine all the time, baby.
Well, Boba Fett did have in its Mandalorian season 3 episode 0. It had that circular station thing.
Yeah, I was talking about the Boba Fett show, not the Mandalorian show that secretly took over.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Anyway, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. So Empire Strikes Back with the Cloud City stuff, of course. Then there's within that we get Darth Vader escapes. They decided he had originally when he left. Oh wait, going back real quick before this,
you get the
one of my least favorite changes in the entire special edition stuff happens here is when Luke falls and he screams like
yeah.
And you know what's funny? That was the first thing like gone when it came to DVD.
I was gonna say they removed that, right? Because I don't even have a memory of that anymore. Like it's so like gone from my mind at this point.
It was bad. I'm like, who? What? All right, that was an attempt at changing something, but
I don't even know why they'd add that. Like his demeanor doesn't suggest that he'd like outburst like that. He chose to fall off. Why is he screaming now?
Well, and they pulled it from the Emperor falling in Return of the Jedi and repurposed like they just kind of pitch changed it and stuff. I was like, just does not work. Like, and as he's falling, his doesn't have his mouth open. He's just like,
exactly. So it's like I don't. it's whatever. But there's other changes too. There's the Emperor change, right?
Yeah, the Emperor. Nope, not here. That's the DVD.
In the hologram thing?
Yeah, the holograms. Yeah, the hologram.
It's still the chimpanzee or whatever.
Yeah, it's still the chimpanzee. It's still Clive Rebel. That the DVD is where they add Ian McDiarmid and the Spawn of Skywalker. Must not. Yeah, it's still the same old one here.
Is there any Vader stuff that's changed when he's like in the thing getting his head?
Not there. It's when he leaves Bespin. And it used to say he was walking on the catwalk. He said, "Bring my shuttle," and then they changed it to "Tell the captain to prepare my prepare the Star Destroyer for my arrival." And they add a whole bunch. They put the shuttles from Return of the Jedi in, and they show it taking off and going to the
Super Star
Destroyer. And then they change the landing and use an alternate angle of his landing in Return of the Jedi at the opening. And he comes out and you can see the guy welcome Lord Vader, like saying the lines, but they mute him. But it's just an alternate angle of him landing in Return of the Jedi. All this operatic nonsense, no reason. Just here's some extra Vader stuff. That's it. But that's what they throw on us here.
Let me add this about the Superstar Destroyer. Seeing this movie and like slowly recognizing things that they're making, it's like, this is a movie. This is why, like, I don't mind having more Death Stars in this movie. The first movie you get a Star Destroyer, it's like, that's a big fucking ship. This is the second movie. It's like, here's a Superstar Destroyer. It's like there's a bigger one of these, and it's huge, right? And I'm thinking, well, that makes sense. If you can make one of these, why would you not make a bigger one? You're in space,
right?
Whatever. So by the time we get to Jedi, and it's like, well, yeah, you have a weapon that can destroy planets. You don't just stop making those. So yeah, make a better Death Star. That's their whole plan. So then when you get to Force Awakens, I get that the complaint about like rehashing, like, oh, it's another Death Star, but it's like, like, if you're trying to take over the galaxy, what better weapon to have than one that destroys planets? Like, what do you like? What's the other way to go?
Right.
It's like from a logic standpoint, it's like, yeah, it destroys planets. Like, why? Just because they blew up one, what? You just not make it anymore? Like, it's like, oh, come on, this thing was working.
Yeah, like, okay, we can make another one. That's
like, I'm sorry that your team is not good enough to stop like 6 guys from jumping in at the wrong time, but like for the most part, planet success.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
That's my take as far as the logic for these things go.
Just keep
these guys aren't watching the movie of themselves. They're trying to run a government here. And the best way to do that is to destroy planets. What I'm saying is I side with the Empire, honestly.
With where their finances are going, yes.
Where their finances are going and their logic, yes. Their moral choices, like, yeah, a little shakier on that one when it comes to space Nazis, but from a business standpoint,
pretty sound.
From infrastructure, yeah, I get it. Another thing that's more important, this is when I saw Empire, this is when I realized Empire was the best one.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, as a kid, I think most kids are like this. Return of the Jedi was cool, right? Because it's like, hey, there's speeder bikes, there's space battles, there's Ewoks, all this stuff that I love. It's not slow, and it's not these other stereotypical things to say about Empire. It's not ponderous. It's all just look at all these crazy creatures and like all this action taking place. Watching Empire in the theater for the first time, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, this is a movie. Like, this is real. Like, obviously they're all movies, and obviously Star Wars is amazing, but like watching Empire is like, I'm seeing this clearly now, and the brain is gone. But no, the movie, like, it really hit me in a way where I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the necessity of having this darker chapter, and I'm feeling the importance of what Luke and Yoda's conversations are all about, and I'm enjoying the kind of screwball romance stuff going on a lot more.
And that asteroid field chase in the theater is outstanding. Yeah. That's
very obvious. I mean, obviously the cool stuff is cool and the action is cool and everything, but in terms of like the character work being done and the direction it takes compared to Star Wars, which is still much more of a gee whiz adventure, this has more cerebral elements taking place that I found myself appreciating the first time I saw it in the theater, as opposed to just watching it on VHS at home or whatnot. It's like, okay, now I'm really starting to get in the vibe of why this one, for the most part, seems to this and I guess tend to take the top prize as far as the trilogy.
Yeah, easily. And Jedi is a fine film on its own. Like, I've never understood that. Yeah. It wasn't until the internet that people apparently took issue with that movie, but I'm glad it's not me.
Yeah.
But maybe someday someone's like, well, people didn't like Rise of Skywalker? What? Maybe.
I don't know what that world's going to look like, but I will not be a part of it.
Hey, there's a world now. It's like, what, people like Phantom Menace? Like, I'm sure that's a odd thing for people to comprehend now too, but who knows? But yeah, that's the Empire Strikes Back special edition. And then finally Return of the Jedi special edition, which opened in March. I think people were kind of like done with because this one did not open as well as the others and just kind of went away quickly compared to the other ones. But this one had significant changes to itself. I'm going to put it right up this. If you want our conversation on Jedi Rocks, stay tuned for our Friday episode. We'll be dedicating the whole music video episode to Jedi Rocks. But other things here with Return of the Jedi, the Sarlacc pit now had a beak come out of it.
It's a choice. As I said, like growing up, like when I was younger, I was Jedi. I like all of Star Wars, but like I was super huge on Jedi because it just had like cool shit like that. It had all of Jabba's palace, and I was intrigued by that. It had Ewoks, and it had speeder bikes. And I'd been to the Redwood Forest at that point. So like, this is so cool. Like this red thing, like there are speeder bikes in Redwood. But like the Sarlacc thing, and you know me, I'm so obsessed with like giant unwieldy beast type things.
Right.
So, and like you can hear talk about this plenty in our Out Now Star Wars commentary tracks, but like Empire has one of my single favorite scenes in all of Star Wars, which is when they're in the space worm, because it's like, that's fucking cool. It's a giant space worm. So like the concept of there's this pit that a beast is just in, and if you feed things to it, it just digests them for hundreds of years. And it's like, what is that supposed to be? So like any change to that, it's like, as long as it's still swallowing fools and digesting, like I don't have a problem with this.
Right.
It looks weird, and it made me think, I don't think Boba Fett gets out of this one anymore after like seeing this for the first time. The way it looks, obviously I was wrong, but like it was a choice where I'm like, well, I'm not against this, but it's certainly noticeable. That's kind of my takeaway from this thing.
Yeah, apparently you can go back years later and shoot it dead. But yeah,
well, it seemed fine. I mean, he just like shot his way around and kind of crawled out of it.
Yeah.
And then he comes back with the like. Let's keep in mind, Lando was able to like hold on for dear life with a thing wrapped around its leg.
Right.
But like and he's fine. But the slave one's like almost getting swallowed up by the thing.
Right.
So Lando's leg is as strong as the slave one. That's what I realized.
That's what
I'm sorry. The what the fuck is it called?
Boba Fett's starship.
Yeah, we can't go slave.
That's right. Hey, it's not a slave. Its name's Anakin. The beak.
Did somebody talk about my former boy?
It's my boy. You want a pizza? So the beak was weird for me to accept because I always look at the Sarlacc pit as a pit.
Pit, yeah.
Not that one that had a mountain. I liked it. It was just this. You fall endlessly, and it had teeth and could swallow or something. Like whenever you got to the bottom, I always liked that. So the beak was always a okay type thing, and early on I think they fixed it well, but you could really tell the CG was CG.
Oh yeah,
on it.
Sure.
It was one of the,
I remember that very distinctly because it stuck out so much. It's like, oh, there's a thing now.
One of the lesser good jobs. And like I knew it wasn't going to happen, but like the big Starklighter stuff in the first one, I was like, please show the sandstorm, please show the sandstorm, please show this. No, they didn't show the sandstorm scene. That now it was a thing on the Blu-ray releases. Those scenes finally got put on proper bonus material. So looking at,
I'm sorry, I'm trying to think about the Sarlacc still, where it's like it's just it's like, I guess like a sea anemone. It's just kind of a thing that like is there, and if you like you get inside of it, it's like, oh, I got you.
It's like an environmental obstacle, like a what's the plant that eats you?
Like a Venus flytrap.
Venus flytrap underground. Like that's kind of,
Star Wars predates the ruins. That's what we're saying.
Right. Yes. There you go. But yeah, it's just what's all in the bottom of it. I don't know. But
we should do a ruins commentary. Just thinking
yeah,
that'd be a fun one.
I liked that one back then. But yeah, other changes here.
There's more. Well, there's Jedi Rocks, obviously, but there's what the thing outside Jabba's palace. It seems to be customary now, where like the little alien like snap like tongue shots, the crawling lizard thing.
Yep.
I think that's just like I think repeated every time you go to Jabba's palace now. It's like he's still collecting things.
Oh, and back to Star Wars, there was a couple new monsters in the cantina as well. They added back then that negligible. So they needed more than just like the devil himself. Right. Yes. More than Satan. But yeah, and then later on, George would think like, oh, Jabba's palace, that door just not big enough for me. Not big enough. That's what we do later on. Of course, there's more space battle things that get some CG with Lando having, and of course we mentioned the Death Star would have a ring when it would explode. What's the word for it? Yeah. Some more banthas. There was like an extra shot of the sail barge flying.
Yeah, there's like a herd of banthas. Is it a herd? We need to look up this word classification for banthas. A swallow of banthas.
A swallow of banthas. Apparently, a CGI rope was added to Han Solo's foot as he's hanging off. So, in case people were
wondering
like, how can he do that? So his ankles have ropes on them. So, and he said in the original version, he said, "It's all right, trust me." And special edition says, "All right, it's all right. I can see a lot better." So that
I do like that line though. That's because he's probably bullshitting him. That's why I like the line. It's like I can see a lot better now. It's fine.
Right. I can see a lot better now.
And then it is like, if there's one thing I can take from Solo, which I think is fine, there's an informed history. I mean, even more than just the implied history, but like thinking about like, because you haven't seen Han and Lando really together, right? You saw him in Empire together for a bit. You saw him here. Like, there's only so much. So you think to like, I like thinking generationally when you think of like, oh yeah, you think about like Alden Ehrenreich and Donald Glover's version of this, and like flash forward to now, and it's like I can see I got this. Like, there's just something there that's like, I can appreciate the roundedness of the series as a whole. Yeah. Same way where when I think of like the duel between Vader and Obi-Wan and Star Wars, and you think about all the shared history between them that led up to this moment. It's like this like it's a neat from a franchise standpoint as a whole, from a whole thing.
Oh yeah, it's good power moments that work even better later on. That just shows the storytelling prowess of a George Lucas.
Yeah, and how endearing the characters overall can be when you make a unnecessary Solo origin movie.
There you go. Oh gosh. One of the big changes to this one was the ending, where not only do they get rid of the Yub Nub song,
which I
loved, like the hell with this rather inoffensive song that's nice, but
it's not as memorable to me. Like, I don't like hearing it. Like, I could still, like, as we've established, I was all about, yeah, cool, I'm gonna see new stuff in Star Wars. I didn't mind Greedo. Jabba was like, yeah, all right, like there's a Jabba now, I guess, whatever. Yeah. This was the one thing where I walked out of the theater as a younger child thinking, well, that song sucks. Like, I was not into it. Like at the same time, it's like, well, I got to see Coruscant and stuff, like, and I saw like I saw like a T-16 flying around somewhere, and it's like, that's fun, but like this song does nothing for me. Like, I just really like Yub Nub a lot.
Yeah, Yub Nub was great because it felt unique to Star Wars and of that film, and this just felt like it could have gone with anywhere.
It just feels really generic. Like, Yub Nub feels like something that Ewoks would sing. Like, if that makes any sense. Like, that feels like that's a song that they would come up with. I can picture them formulating this song, and that's the thing that they sing when they're celebrating.
Yeah. I feel like it's him trying to take the Emperor's theme and take it back for the good guys. Yeah. Something he's trying to do, because at the end of Phantom Menace, it's a celebratory, happy version of the Emperor's theme for the medal ceremony that later works itself in the trilogy to be the Emperor's theme that we know. And it feels like he's sort of trying to take that choirist thing back for the good guys. And then, yeah, you get to see all the planets, which this ending would be tweaked again later on.
You'd add in like
Naboo and some others. But this one we get Bespin, Tatooine,
Coruscant, which we've never seen, that was cool to me because I knew about this planet that was all city. It's like, oh, cool, that's what this is.
And are they pulling down the Emperor statue in the original special edition too? I think I
can't recall. I think so.
And they
that would make sense to me.
I think the additions they did was they added the Jedi Temple in the background.
Yeah. For sure they did.
The DVD edition, which would remain. And like Naboo got tossed in there, and this is the last time we would have Sebastian Shaw as Anakin Skywalker, the Force
Another
Ghost.
Very controversial choice. for people.
That would happen later on when Hayden Christensen would take the role of Force Ghost Anakin. But that's a choice not here. We still have Sebastian because Hayden was not involved in Star Wars in any way at this time in 1997. But yeah, that was the change, the ending that feels a little bigger, showing it across the galaxy. But I never had a problem with the end of Return of the Jedi. I never thought it needed more. I liked Yub Nub because Yub Nub started simple and then ended big. Like it is that chorusy song. Like, it's very loud and chorusy.
You like the ending as far as like the song without seeing any other things? Just like the song.
I was always fine with that song. They
song-wise, sure.
Yeah, the Rebels.
Do you like seeing the other planets? Or are you
I do, but yeah, I never felt like I needed it. But
that's fair. I would say I can agree as far as this movie. Like if I was just watching this movie and I got that, cool. Even if watching like the whole original trilogy, sure, like there's something personal about that works for me. And then there's also Lando doing this. It's like, okay, Lando, learn to dance, but you're Billy D. Williams.
And they add Luke Skywalker hugging Wedge Antilles.
Yeah,
Antilles,
because they're best friends.
Yep.
They form Rogue Squadron together. You never see them do anything once. He talks to Wedge sometimes. But I think when you watch 1 through 6, which I've done plenty of times.
Yeah.
Like I do like that. It's like, yeah, this guy like fucked up the galaxy. It's nice to see like this, like the galaxy's like reveling in the idea. It's like we've gotten rid of like space Hitler. We can just like celebrate for now,
right?
Like I can appreciate that, dude. I like the word got out and they all had a party at the same time. That's fun,
right? Yeah,
I want to see those holograms,
fireworks, all things. But yeah, it's funny because you got this big celebration, and then the sequel trilogy is just the tiniest celebration with no Yub Nubs or song.
Yeah, there's hugs, including the erased from China gay hug. There's the
Rey Star Wars scene.
There's all black characters are related with Lando and Naomi Aki's character.
Yep.
And that's it. We're all just kind of on this planet that's name I can't recall offhand right now. That one, the foresty one.
Oh, that foresty one. Okay, cool.
It's not Octo. It's some other thing I can't think of.
It's not the one with Maz Kanata's bar.
Yeah, it's not that one, which I also cannot remember right now.
Right.
If I was playing Battlefront as frequently as I was before, I would definitely have these names down.
Right. But yeah, so that's the.
It is around. I'm trying to like another disappointment in Rise of Skywalker. It is a pretty like. I guess we're done, guys. We did it.
Yeah, it's like feels small. Like the battle felt small. Like it's. Yeah, that's a whole thing.
We wiped out the Emperor's auditorium, and that was it.
Yep. If you bought a ticket to the show, you did not make it out.
Anyway, those fans of that one, you do you. Like, that's great. But yeah, Return of the Jedi, big ending. Yub Nub, not there. Okay.
And it was all for naught because the First Order would rise up and all go to hell. So
yeah,
enjoy your happy ending there, Rebels. One of the big changes that I didn't realize that happened to all 3 movies, James Earl Jones is credited as the voice of Darth Vader, which was not originally, not till the 1997 special editions.
I remember that being a bit of trivia at the time too. Yeah, it was just added in there. Good. I mean,
yeah, but yeah, this those are the special editions. What they've done, how we thought. What do you think of them looking back? Do you wish they hadn't happened, or like how are you? Like, I have no problem. I just think you should make things available that like the original. Like if we can have a Blu-ray that has 5 cuts of Blade Runner, we should be able to have different cuts of Star Wars.
I mean, there's a deeper thought there as far as like we must have to feel bad for Lucas in some degree, despite being as rich as he is and as philanthropic as he's chosen to be in the course of his career. But he's also this seemingly tortured artist that got caught up in this thing and wants it to be a certain way and is a perfectionist in his own way and wants things to continue to and refuses to go a different direction on that, which I can see that being a kinship with plenty of other artists that similarly don't reflect back on their other works or
forward thinking versions.
They want to look at like this is the one that I did. I'm the guy that made this. This is the version I've chosen for you to see. Is it? I mean, there's certainly it's not like it's not possible for him to put those out. He can do what he wants to, and it is what it is. I do like the certain pettiness that he kind of has as far as releasing that bonus DVD.
Yeah,
that's because it's like that's such a troll move.
Oh,
and he's
big
not
time.
Like I would never think of Lucas being a mean or vindictive person, but there's an adolescence irreverent sense of humor. I think he's very aware of that he knows. He's not unaware that fans like certain things, certain ways, or whatnot. He's not dumb. Like, and he's not blind. So like, I like the idea of like, I'm gonna throw you this bone, but it's gonna be this is very funny to me.
Right. The least amount of work. Like here you go.
But as far as like my reaction to how, like, if there's anything, whatever. I mean, like, I got to see Star Wars in a theater again, and I'm not. Are there like things that I don't prefer? I guess, but like they don't hit me in a way where I'm like, I can't, the whole childhood ruin thing. It's like that's nonsense to begin with. But like a minute scene with Jabba the Hutt's not taking away what I love about Star Wars.
No,
it's not a problem for me.
It's still the movies I love. Like, it's still them at their core, and some kid picking it up, I don't think is going to be turned off not knowing. Like, I think it works to that degree.
My thoughts on Harrison Ford haven't changed, or like my opinion that Han Solo is one of the coolest movie characters of all time isn't like diminished because he didn't shoot a guy first anymore. Like it's like stuff that if I was handed this and like was told I'm going to put this in theaters and I have this stuff that I can add to it, like sure, I maybe wouldn't choose those things necessarily, but like. It wasn't up to me. It was up to George Lucas. He made those changes, and guess what? I still love Star Wars. Like,
right. And one of my things, like too, like when people are like, "I want the original editions," I'm like, I honestly don't. I want some of the cosmetically fixed ones because I don't need see-through cockpits and shadow box ships. Like, I want, I like, where they had like the THX versions and stuff like that, and some of the special edition changes. Like, I don't want the exact 1977 edition. Like I don't think people would realize what that would look like.
I agree, and it's I don't concern myself with these kind of hypotheticals when it comes to like would I want a compromised piecemeal version. Like, well, I can't get that, so it's like what it's like. It's easy, and I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. It's like, sure, it'd be great to like have a version that's just fixes up all that stuff and then doesn't necessarily incorporate. But at the same time, it's like that's impossible. Like there's no version of that exists. So it's like if it's a take or to leave it scenario, as far as would I just like to get 1977 exactly as it was, or get the special editions that have all of the other changes in addition to like 4 scenes that are like okay, whatever. Whatever. Like it's Star Wars. Like it's fine.
Yeah. No, I still love the movies, like and the changes are interesting and stuff, and they still are fine. And like,
and if anything, it's promoted lots of interesting conversation over the years as well. Like,
right.
I think there's more to say about Star Wars that you may think of now because you can analyze Lucas's mind space more, or analyze what you like about certain things being different, or what have like. There's that adds value to the discussion of Star Wars in ways that are intriguing beyond just
divisive stuff keeps it alive.
It very much does. And it very clearly has. Like no one's going to wear a shirt that says I prefer the Star Wars that I've always seen and it never changed.
Right.
It just says Han shot and that's it. Like there's no catchphrase because there's nothing ever happened. Like that's boring. Like I like the idea of having these ongoing discussions that kind of fuel various kinds of passions for Star Wars years later.
Yeah.
And how they even reflect on the prequels and the sequel trilogies now, as far as what the intentions were of characters at certain points, or how effects have evolved, or any number of conversations you can have. Like,
and Lucas and Star Wars as being forward thinking things are the reason it's never even been thought of that it was it could be rebooted, reset, remade. Like you could say what you want. Like I understand there's people that legends, like the books getting cut off and restarted. But that I'm talking like movie sense, because Star Wars is movies. It started as movies. It's always, going to be like movies is square one. Now it's involved in television, which is, a compatible medium to what the movies were. But yeah, the forward thinking is why it's never been reset in those aspects.
The forward thing is also why you get like the series that we have, like
Mm-hmm.
on the animated ones and these live action ones. I do think by having certain things warped around or what have you, you might not get the Mandalorian or Boba Fett like, in the same way that you'd have them now without having these special editions that add like bits of canon or rearrange certain things to make things possible. Like I think, well, it's not a lot, but there's something there.
The DVD editions would add Tamura Morrison's voice to Boba Fett.
Uh-huh.
So we now like it's like confirmed that he looks like that that is that guy. Like that was a notable thing when that came out. It's like, oh, that's going all the way there. Then that's a small little change, but with big connotations, which is Lucas done. But no, I'm fine with all. I got to see these in the theater. Like it was awesome. You could go. There's a time where you could go see all three in March. They would be playing together. Like, and seeing these on the big screen is amazing. Like even sequel trilogy stuff and like all the prequels were like great theater going experiences. Anytime you see Star Wars is always big on the big screen. Like
the sound of Star Wars is
the sound design. Oh god,
pretty much anything between Ben Burtt's stuff and John Williams stuff. Obviously, there's just like this. It doesn't get much better than those combinations,
right? And people can huff at J.J. Abrams stuff. The guy shoots for the big screen. Like he knows how to make it where even in the lesser stuff he does, like
the spectacle's there.
Spectacle's there. Yeah. So that has not been lost on Star Wars with things. But yeah. So yeah, looking back, I'm fine with the special edition. Like I'm not as like hot on them as I was then, but I've always just taken the changes and been like, okay, well, not the end of the world. I still watch Star Wars and enjoy them, and everything. Every time they've listened, like the 4K sets restored color timing that the Blu-ray changed to make it look like the prequels, and things happen. And maybe we'll get those restored theatrical editions someday, but maybe not. We still have Star Wars. So
well, the second that the random like comic book websites that base sources off nothing stop putting up posts that say, rumor is that they're going to come out any day now. Mm-hmm. Like that's when we'll finally get them when they stop doing this.
I do know that they exist. Like I know people who have like worked with people on these. They are sitting there and have been worked on, but for what reason? Nobody knows. It's something if they need to stir up some Star Wars interest, if it ever wanes, that's something they have in their back pocket.
When episode 10 gets announced, or when when the Solo and Kira series is announced, or whatever else comes along.
Kilo.
When the Dash Rendar series gets announced.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We'll see what happens.
More Shadows of the Empire.
Too late for Bruce Campbell now, but all right.
Fair enough. But yeah, that'll do it for today. Thanks, Aaron, for talking Star Wars. It's always fun to do this podcast form, even though we do it regularly. But this maybe not so celebrated time in Star Wars, but we're celebrating it. But let people know where they can keep up with you and your happenings before we head out.
You can find me in lots of places. I write for a number of sites. My personal blog, thecodazeek.com. Everything you find everything that I do, you can find there. I write for Why We Live Entertainment for movie reviews, Why So Blue for Blu-ray and 4K reviews and Criterion reviews. I'm on a Variety occasionally doing some interview stuff, and I'm on Twitter at Aaron's PS4. There's also our show Out Now with Aaron Abe. My friend Abe and I discuss new movies like on a weekly basis. We also do commentary tracks every month. Brandon is always featured on those as well. We've talked about seven out of 13 Star Wars movies at this point.
We're stopped at The Last Jedi, which we should have done in December, but no.
we had other plans.
We did.
We'll get back. Well, because we lost Star Wars.
Or are we going to Rogue One? We're doing that.
That's actually a good question. Should we go to Rogue One or go to Last Jedi? We'll figure that out soon enough. But yes, we do have commentaries for all the Star Wars movies. That was always fun to do. But yeah.
All right, cool. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at BrandonForkUHD, written work at WhySoBlue.com. There's more from the Brandon Peters Show this week, including more Star Wars on Friday. But until then, stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.